reverse fractions and a method hack. What is a reverse fraction? Well, that's when the question gives you the answer after a change and then asks you what the original position was. So it's very much like a reverse percentage. So here's an easy example. Half the boys in the class play football. 10 boys play football. How many boys are there in the class? Half the boys play football and there's 10 boys playing football. So half of the class is 10 boys. So there's 20 boys in the class. You might have been able to work that out intuitively, just sort of like I did. Obviously, these questions are a little bit harder. Here's one. 3/7 of the boys in a class play football. 12 boys play football. How many boys are there in the class? Well, the answer doesn't leap out, so we need to use a little bit of logic. And unlike reverse percentages, we can form an equation. Suppose the number of boys in the class is B. B for boys. 3/7 of B is equal to 12. We know this is multiplication, don't we? So 3/7 times B equals 12. We'll divide by 3 to get rid of this 3 on top. 1/7 times B equals 4. And then times by 7, B is equal to 28. Cool. So the maths is quite easy. This is the hard part of the question. If you haven't done this sort of question before, let's come over here for a check. 3/7 will assume that the boys are 28. 3/7 of 28, well, I'm not going to multiply 3 by 28. I notice that 7 divides into 28 nicely, so I will divide by 7, 7, and 28 goes to be 4. Remember, if you divide by 7 and you would get a 1 here, don't put a 1 in, because 3/1 is just 3. Often see students with 3/1 and they're struggling. How do I get rid of the 1? It's gone. 3/1 is 3. So now we're left with 3 times 4. 3 times 4 equals 12, which is the 12 that we've got. That leaves me pretty happy. What isn't going to leave me happy, maybe, is this. Pause and practice. Your opportunity to pause the video and practice the maths. It's the best way to learn. Here's the answer. Have a little think. Well, we know it's a reverse fraction question, obviously, and therefore the answer is the fraction times the number of girls. 4/9 of the girls in the class play chess. 8 girls play chess. How many girls are there in the class? Same as before, 4/9 times the number of girls is equal to 8. Same as before, we'll get rid of the top first, divide by 4. 1/9 times G is equal to 2. And then we multiply both sides by 9. G equals 18. Let's just check that. Check. Let's imagine that G is equal to 18. 4/9 of G. Again, I'm not multiplying 4 times 18 because I can see that 9 and 18 both are multiples of 9. So I divide by 9, that disappears, and 18 becomes 2. 4 times 2 equals 8. And that's the 8 we're given. Very happy with that. Now, of course, that would leave me happy, but mathematicians always make their questions harder. How do you make a question harder? By not giving you all the information. 3/5 of pupils in the class go swimming. 14 pupils do not go swimming. I can see where this isn't going. We've got the number that going swimming, and we've got the number that don't go swimming. How many pupils are there in the class? Well, let's have a think. How do you create an equation from this? Here we're going to need a method hack. And this is what I encourage all my students to do. If you're a little bit stuck, let's draw a diagram. There's a whole load of students that go swimming. And there's a load of students that do not go swimming. It becomes sort of evident that you either go swimming or you do not go swimming. There's only 2 options. This is a little bit like a probability tree. Let's fill in some data. 3/5 go swimming, and the total that's not swimming is 14. Now, one of the key facts of probabilities is that all the possible probabilities add up to 1. So if you go swimming is 3/5 and not swimming Well, it's 1 minus 3/5, which is 2/5. These two possibilities have to add up to 1. And now we have what we need. We have a fraction of all the pupils, and we have the number that relates to that fraction. So we can say that pupils times 2/5 is equal to 14. Or as I like to say, 2/5 of P for pupils, equals 14. Let's divide by 2. Both sides, 1/5 of P is 7. And multiply by 5 to get rid of the 5. P equals 35. Oh, right. You sort of lose a feel for a question like this because of the way the data is given. So let's check it. We are going to assume that there are 35 pupils. That's our answer. And we know that 2/5 do not go swimming. So 2/5 times 35. Again, 5 and 35. I'm going to divide both by 5. 5 disappears. 35 becomes 7. Do not have a 1 here. That's poor. 2 times 7. 2 times 7 equals 14, and that's the number that do not go swimming. That cheers me up tremendously and leaves me joyous. What isn't joyous is your opportunity for pause and practice. I will give you the answer in a few seconds. Have a little think. It's a reverse fraction. Well, we sort of knew that already. And we're going to draw a diagram because it's a tricky one. No shame in that. Music and not music. You are either one or the other. 3/8 take music. 3/8 take music, and 25 do not take music. Right, but we know that you either take music or you do not take music. So these fractions, that fraction and the invisible fraction, add up to 1. So that leaves 5/8, and that's perfect. This is what we wanted. We wanted to have a fraction of the pupils and know what that fraction is worth. So that's where we are. We know that 5/8 times the pupils equals 25. Brilliant. That is the hard work. We've just got to work out what P is. We'll divide by 5 both sides. 1/8 times P equals 5, and multiply by 8. P equals 40. It's a thing to check really, because these questions can go awry. We'll assume that the pupils are 40 and 5/8 of them, which is the amount that do not take music. Let's see, these two divide by 8. 8 divides by 8 to give us 1. We don't write the 1, obviously. That's 5. 40 divides by 8 to give me 5. 5 times 5 equals 25. And that is what the question says. So that fills me with joy. Again. So we've taken what is a tricky question. It's almost undoable if you don't know the method. And hopefully we've made it easy. On the tricky end of easy, but easy. So if you've enjoyed this video, or even if you haven't, please subscribe. Lots more coming.